Way up. All right, good morning and welcome to the April 11th session of Elgin County Council. It is 9:03 a.m. and I will call this meeting to order. And at this point, I will turn things over to our Chief Administrative Officer and Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Through you to members of council, pursuant to our procedural bylaw, I'd like to welcome Interim Councillor 𝗘𝗹𝗴𝗶 to come up and I will administer your oath of office.
I, Richard 𝗘𝗹𝗴𝗶, having been appointed to the office of County Councillor in the County of Elgin, do solemnly promise and declare that I will truly, faithfully and impartially exercise this office to the best of my knowledge and ability. I have not received and will not receive any payment or reward or promise thereof for the exercise of this office in a biased, corrupt or in any other improper manner. I will disclose any pecuniary interest, direct or indirect, in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty King Charles III, and I make this solemn declaration conscientiously, believing it to be true and knowing that it is of the same force and effect as if made under oath.
Yes, good morning and welcome, Richard. Let's move on with the adoption of the minutes. The minutes of the last regular meeting were circulated. Any errors or omissions? If not, can I have the motion, please?
Be it resolved that the minutes of the meeting held on March 28th, 2023 be adopted.
Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Sloan will move. Councillor Noble will second. All in favor? That is carried. I would remind council members of any disclosures of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Note that there are none. Moving on to committee of the whole.
Be it resolved that we do now move into committee of the whole.
Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Jones, or Deputy Warden Jones, excuse me. And Councillor Sloan. All in favor? That's carried. Section 6, reports of council and outside boards and staff. 6.1 is the warden's activity report for March 2023. The report has been circulated. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer any questions you may have. I'm seeing none.
Be it resolved that the report titled Warden's Activity Report, March 2023, dated April 4th, 2023, from Warden 𝗘𝗹𝗴𝗶 be received and filed.
May I have a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Hentz will move and Councillor 𝗘𝗹𝗴𝗶 will second. All in favor? That's carried. 6.2, Director of Homes and Senior Services, Homes Long-Term Care Home Service Accountability Agreement, the 𝗖𝗂 Multi-Homes. Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning, Mr. Warden. Thank you. And through you to members of council, before you is a report on the Homes Long-Term Care Service Accountability Agreement, otherwise known as the 𝗖𝗂, which is a multi-home agreement. So the Corporation of the County of Elgin has an agreement, an 𝗖𝗂 with Ontario Health, which includes all three of our homes for the execution of a 2023-2024 multi-home 𝗖𝗂. The terms and conditions for care and services, reporting requirements, performance requirements, and annual compliance declaration form are included in your agenda package. Amendments in this 𝗖𝗃 include some local performance obligations related to reducing ALC beds, advancing Indigenous health strategies and outcomes, advancing equity, inclusion, diversity, and anti-racism, and strengthening digital health. Staff do recommend that the 𝗖𝗃 agreement for multi-homes be signed and submitted as required. And 2 recommendations before council: that the report be received and filed, and second, that council authorize signing of the agreement. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you for that report, Michelle. Does anyone have any questions for staff on this report? Everyone seems well satisfied.
Be it resolved that the report titled Homes Long-Term Care Home Service Accountability Agreement, 𝗖𝗃 Multi-Homes, dated April 3rd, 2023, from the Director of Homes and Senior Services be received and filed. And that council authorize staff to sign the Long-Term Care Home Service Accountability Agreement, 𝗖𝗃 Multi-Homes, for the period of April 1st, 2023 to March 31st, 2024.
Do we have a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Hentz will move. Councillor Widner will second. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Section 6.3, Director of Homes and Senior Services, Multi-Sector Service Accountability Agreement, the 𝗖𝗃.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Through you to members of council. So yes, the 𝗖𝗃 agreement is the report today. The Corporation of the County of Elgin has a multi-sector service accountability agreement with Ontario Health, which includes 2 of our homes, so 𝗘𝗹𝗴𝗶 and Terrace Lodge, and that's our adult day programs that we host at those 2 homes, as well as the stroke program at Terrace Lodge. Again, the 𝗖𝗃 includes terms and conditions, and the agreement was included in the agenda package. There's 2 local performance objectives included in the 𝗖𝗃, and that's the advancing Indigenous health strategies outcomes and advancing equity, inclusion, diversity, and anti-racism strategies. And staff do recommend that the 𝗖𝗃 agreement be signed and submitted as required. And the 2 recommendations, again, that the report be received and filed, and that council authorize signing of the agreement. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you for the report, Michelle. Again, any questions for Michelle on this particular agreement? Seeing none. Councillor Jones? Just to move? Okay.
Be it resolved that the report titled Homes Multi-Sector Service Accountability Agreement, 𝗖𝗃, dated April 3rd, 2023, be received and filed, and that council authorize staff to sign the Homes Multi-Sector Service Accountability Agreement, 𝗖𝗃, for the period of April 1st, 2023 to March 31st, 2024.
Okay, it has been moved by Deputy Warden Jones. Do I have a seconder? Councillor 𝗘𝗹𝗴𝗶. All in favor? That is carried. 6.4, Director of Homes and Senior Services, Homes Administration, Infection Prevention and Control Policy Updates. Michelle?
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Through you to members of council. So a report was received from the Ministry of Long-Term Care dated March 22nd of this year, which states as we approach the end of our 2022-2023 respiratory illness season, it is anticipated that COVID-19 is likely to fluctuate around the current level of activity, and that the risk of severe outcomes to residents has been reduced with the high vaccine uptake among residents and the availability of safe and effective therapeutics. The ministry has been working very closely with the Office of the Chief Medical Officer of Health to both normalize and to embed effective COVID-19 response measures into our routine operations, including winding down COVID-19 specific requirements with a phased approach. As such, some changes were effective March 31st in relation to asymptomatic screen testing, outdoor masking, resident screening, visitors during outbreaks, activities and physical distancing, COVID-19 vaccination, and COVID-19 daily outbreak reporting requirements. So what does this mean for our homes? It means that all persons must complete passive screening for signs and symptoms, but no longer require rapid antigen testing prior to entry to our homes. Visitors and residents are encouraged but not required to wear masks outdoors, but all persons must continue to mask indoors. And then in relation to COVID-19 visitor vaccination requirements, the ministry communication stated that the risk of severe outcomes to residents has been significantly decreased due to the high level of vaccine uptake, the availability of safe and effective antivirals, and the high immunity in the general community. Long-term care homes that have retained their proof of vaccination requirements are strongly recommended to revisit their policies, both with consideration to the current context of the pandemic and the residents' Bill of Rights, specifically the residents' right to receive visitors of their choice. Specifically, while continuing to promote the uptake of boosters, homes are encouraged to consider permitting entry to visitors regardless of their vaccination status. And licensees were encouraged to engage with their resident council, their family council, and the local public health to inform review of their policies. So I wanted to share with council that we did meet, the administrators met with the resident council of the 3 homes, as well as they were able to meet with one of the family councils. And they did share the details and ministry long-term care pandemic guidance updates. And the feedback from the residents included that some residents that attended the council meeting continued to support a vaccination policy requirement for visitors, but they were very empathetic to the fact that there are residents that still have not had visits from some of their unvaccinated visitors. But there were also as many residents that supported a removal of the visitor vaccination requirements. And they acknowledged that there will always be a mix of responses and views on this matter. I thought it would be helpful to share with some additional information with council. So our percentage of current residents that are vaccinated ranges between 93 and 95% of our current residents, with them all. Everyone has at least 2, but many have more boosters. It just depends on when they were admitted. In the past year, we're still having COVID outbreaks, but the number of residents that are impacted in our outbreaks has significantly reduced. So in the past year, one home had 3, another had 5, and another home 6. But again, the numbers and the outcomes were very different than they were the year prior. Also, the source of the outbreak is something that we monitor closely. So we are seeing outbreaks that are timed with outings around holidays, and also admissions to hospital or transfers to hospital where they've maybe had an exposure, as well as new admissions are quite often a source of our outbreaks. And keeping in mind that it just takes 2 residents to put us into an outbreak. Also important to note that within our current policy, we do have unvaccinated visitors permitted into the home for scheduled one-to-one visits in a designated area of the home, and there have been no outbreaks linked to these visits. Masks are continued to be required indoors at this time, and the revisions that you would have noted in the policy in the link to the attachment included some verbiage to continue to promote vaccination and to promote 2 things for unvaccinated visitors: to consider outdoor visits and to consider wearing their mask at all times, including outdoors. Also, I've done some surveys or reached out to a lot of colleagues, and there are a number of homes that have already changed their policy for visitors. And they've reported that there's been no increase in outbreaks related to unvaccinated visitors. Hospitals do not require visitors to be vaccinated. And we no longer have the requirement to have a screener at our front entrance to the door. So we've lost that opportunity to check and confirm vaccination status for visitors. And certainly if the policy changes are approved today, we would provide communication to residents and families outlining the safeguards that are in place to support a transition in policy vaccination requirements for visitors. So we've done the updates for the administration and infection control manuals based on the
Thank you, Michelle. Does anyone have any questions for Michelle? Deputy Warden Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Warden, through you to Michelle. Just when you see where the council of long-term care home has a different perspective and different viewpoints from how do you manage that? Like, going forward, we have some support vaccination, some don't support. Where are we headed with that?
Great question. And through you, Mr. Warden, to Councillor Jones. So we had the same sort of feedback when we had a mandatory vaccination policy. So it's really working one-on-one with those residents that are coming forward with questions and ensuring that the communication that we do put out provides similar information that we've provided with today, as well as information that we've received from the Ministry of Long-Term Care, and really balancing the residents' rights and what they've gone through in the last 2 to 3 years and having some limitations with their visitors. Also to note that, and we've provided reassurance, so the administrators did at the resident council meetings, that there could be a shift again if the numbers change as we approach the 2023, 2024 respiratory season. There may be a shift in ministry guidance again, and we may need to adjust that, and encouraging residents that have any concerns that they may want to wear a mask more frequently when they're maybe going to one of our larger events where there's more visitors coming in. But also to date, all of our visitors have or not all of our visitors, but we have had that requirement, and it's a very low number of unvaccinated visitors that have been coming in with scheduled designated areas for visits. So I think there is that sense of support of visitors to continue with vaccination if they have to date with, if it becomes an annual requirement or the boosters that are available. You're welcome.
Anything further?
Be it resolved that the report titled Homes Administration and Infection Prevention and Control Policy Updates dated March 31st, 2023 from the Director of Homes and Senior Services be received and filed, and that council approve the County of Elgin Homes and Senior Services Administration and Infection Prevention and Control Policy Manual updates to ensure alignment with current Ministry of Long-Term Care legislation.
Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Hentz will move, Councillor Crockett will second. All in favor? That is carried. Section 6.5, Director of Human Resources, amended HR Policy 8.20, Safety Equipment and Programs. Good morning, Amy.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Warden, and through you to members of council. The Safety Equipment and Programs Policy was recently raised as it was lacking some clarity and depth. Specifically, it did not specify any reimbursement would be provided toward the purchase of required safety footwear. And this led to inconsistency in application over the years. The draft policy amendments include a new provision of up to $200 annually toward the purchase of certified safety footwear for employees who are required to wear these in the course of their employment. The draft policy has been reviewed by the Joint Health and Safety Committee, the Finance Department, as well as the broader management team. And financial implications will be contained within impacted departmental budgets toward approved purchases of safety footwear. And since PPE requirements are departmental and role specific, this mainly includes staff within engineering and facilities roles and anyone who needs to attend a construction site. So it is ultimately a small number of staff who would be required to wear safety footwear for work. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that council might have.
Thank you for that, Amy. Does anyone have any questions? Deputy Warden Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Warden, through you to Amy. So how was it managed before? Just haphazardly?
Good question. And through the warden to Councillor Jones, yeah, that it was inconsistent across departments, but rarely were staff reimbursed for safety footwear when it was required because there was no provision in the policy to do that. But upon review, we did feel that if we are requiring staff to make a purchase like this, they're not inexpensive, that we should be chipping in on that purchase.
Anything further?
Be it resolved that the report titled Amended HR Policy 8.20, Safety Equipment and Programs dated April 11th, 2023 from the Director of Human Resources be received and filed, and that County Council approve amended HR Policy 8.20 Safety Equipment and Programs.
Mover and seconder, please. Deputy Warden Jones, Counselor Widner. All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Section 6.6, Manager of Economic Development, Tourism and Strategic Initiatives, 𝗖𝗂𝗴𝗶𝗶, experience the flavors of Elgin, St. Thomas. Good morning, Carolyn.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Warden. Through you to council, Elgin County Tourism launched the Savor Elgin program in 2010 with the goal of promoting the local food industry and culinary tourism. During the pandemic, when local food operators were struggling, the $500 membership fee was waived for all members. This prompted us to rethink the program with the goal of making it more inclusive, eliminating the membership fee and recruiting more members to the program. I'm excited to share that we received $35,000 in grant funding from the Tourism Relief Fund in late January 2023. With these funds and in partnership with Railway City Tourism, we have updated the Savor Elgin Guide with a new modern logo and a refreshed magazine style booklet that highlights culinary tourism and agritourism experiences throughout Elgin and St. Thomas. The new guide focuses on the experiences that make Elgin's and St. Thomas's culinary attractions unique at no cost to those featured. So food experiences included in the guide are sweet maple syrup stops, really good fish and chips, love our local markets, and more. Included in your agenda package is a draft of the new guide, and the new guide will be available in both print and digital formats, with the digital guide featuring interactive links, videos, and share functions. As we prepare to release the new guide, we will be working closely with Railway City Tourism to develop and implement a marketing campaign to promote the launch of this new culinary guide, both locally and throughout Southwestern Ontario. And with that, I would be happy to answer any questions.
And thank you for that report. Any questions for Carolyn? We seem to be zipping right along through this agenda. Okay.
Be it resolved that the report titled Savor Elgin and Taste, Experience the Flavors of Elgin and St. Thomas dated April 4th, 2023 from the Manager of Economic Development, Tourism and Strategic Initiatives be received and filed.
May I have a mover and seconder, please? Counselor Latham. Excuse me. And Counselor Sloan. All in favor? That is carried. 6.7, from the General Manager of Engineering, Planning and Enterprise, Deputy CAO, the 2022 County Road Maintenance Agreement Financial Reporting. Good morning, Brian.
Morning, Mr. Warden, through you to council. So the report before you details or summarizes the county road maintenance expenditures as reported by each of your municipalities as required by our road maintenance agreement with each of the municipalities. As councilors are well aware, our county's road maintenance activities are provided by your staff by way of the road maintenance agreement, which details the scope of services at minimum that are required to be provided. Financial details are included in the staff report. I'd be happy to answer any specific questions that councilors may have.
Thank you for that report, Brian. Any questions for staff? Deputy Warden Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Through you, Brian, just when you look across the various areas that we maintain, there's quite a wide discrepancy in some of these columns, and just it's kind of confusing how that can happen.
Yeah, through Mr. Warden to Deputy Warden Jones. Through the recent Strategy Corp road maintenance review exercise done a year ago, they noted that municipalities were reporting financial values and tracking financial costs differently. There was inconsistency with respect to reporting. And so one of the recommendations coming out of that exercise was a recommendation on how municipalities could be reporting, making it easier for county staff to conduct a comparison review of those annual costs. With that, we know, as we've seen in the numbers before you, that not all municipalities have transitioned completely to those recommendations. And we also know that they're working towards that. So certainly your observation is correct. And certainly it required some back and forth discussion with county staff and your local staff to better ascertain how those values were or how those values are attributed to specific items. So we're working towards it.
Any additional questions? Yes, Councillor Noble.
Through you, Mr. Warden. Can the inspection and patrol be explained just because Bayham and Central Elgin don't have a value in there?
Yeah, through Mr. Warren to Councillor Noble. So there again, we are of the understanding that each municipality and are required to conduct inspection of county roads, and we have full confidence that that activity is being done. But once again, similar to the previous response, every municipality is allocating costs to specific items differently. And so we've asked for some additional feedback, and we know that those two municipalities specifically are working towards the recommendations put forth by Strategy Corp.
Any additional questions? Seeing none.
Be it resolved that the report titled 2022 County Road Maintenance Agreement Financial Reporting dated April 4th, 2023 from the General Manager of Engineering, Planning and Enterprise and Deputy CAO be received and filed.
Mover and seconder, please. Deputy Warden Jones and Councillor Noble. All in favor? That's carried. 6.8, General Manager of Engineering, Planning and Enterprise, Deputy CAO, request to extend reduced speed zone Lions Line.
Thank you, Mr. Warren. Through you to council. This staff report is, as presented before you, was in response to County Council having considered correspondence received from the Township of Malahide, whereby a request with respect to possibility of extending the existing speed zone along Lions Line be reviewed. County staff reviewed the matter and felt that there was merit in extending the speed zone, the additional length of about 75 meters. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for that, Brian. Any questions for staff? Councillor Whitner.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Warden, through to Brian. Thanks for the quick resolution of this problem. And when you look at it, yeah, it does make perfect sense. I just got to get people to obey the speed limits and we'll be on our way. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any other questions?
Be it resolved that the report titled Request to Extend Reduced Speed Zone Lions Line dated April 4th, 2023 from the General Manager of Engineering, Planning and Enterprise and Deputy CAO be received and filed, and that the reduced speed zone bylaw Schedule C be amended as follows. County Road 73, Section A, from 408 meters east of the east property line of County Road 73 to 335 meters west of the east property line of County Road 73 be established as a 60 km/h zone.
Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Jiguer and Councillor Noble. All in favor? That is carried. 6.9, Chief Administrative Officer, the City County Shared Services Enhanced Engagement Efforts.
Thanks, Mr. Warden. Through you to members of council. This report recommends strategies to support enhanced information sharing between the City of St. Thomas and the County of Elgin, particularly with regard to shared services. So short-term strategies are listed within the report and include hosting a joint annual councils meeting between the county and the city, as has been done in the past. as well requesting additional presentations from St. Thomas as needed. If issues come up or if there is information that is outstanding. Requests that Elgin and St. Thomas Social Services provide quarterly reports to County Council for distribution to local municipal partners. And following up on those quarterly reports to ensure that they include the types of information that our local municipal partners are seeking in order to achieve enhanced accountability and transparency. As well, facilitate annual meetings between interested municipal partners and Elgin St. Thomas Social Services. And in turn, offer the same with respect to emergency medical services. So we would submit quarterly reports, offer to host a joint meeting, and offer to do presentations to City of St. Thomas Council as needed. There are longer term strategies for enhanced engagement efforts that can be contemplated as part of a renewed agreement, which our current agreement is set to expire in 2024. So work will be underway soon to come up with strategies. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Well, thank you for that report, Julie. Any questions? Councillor Cookett.
Thank you, Mr. Warden, and thank you for that report, Julie. I was the one that kind of asked for greater communication, especially in terms of social services. And I find that part of the rationale for doing that was that, you know, the stress on, I guess, or the look at homelessness and affordable housing, those kinds of things are certainly increasing these days. And we really don't have a great deal of information on what's happening in terms of that. Now, I did ask for closer communication, not because I'm dissatisfied with social services, because I think they do a great job in Elgin, and certainly they did a great job in the recent Elmer fire. But I still think it's important that we kind of get more information from social services, especially since we're dealing with 1,765,000, I think, in our budget for that area. It doesn't, even though it's 1.7 million, maybe that isn't a lot. I'd like to see where the other monies come from to support social services, especially in the area of affordable houses. I'm not sure that I want another committee. We are all committed to death somewhat sometimes, but it might be nice to meet with the City of St. Thomas as a council once a year or once every 2 years. That is just for the sake of communication between St. Thomas Council and ours. But the suggestions you make about quarterly reports, I think, is probably sufficient for that. So thank you for that report.
Thank you for those comments. Anyone else? Councillor Giguère.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I would endorse the quarterly reports as well, because as Councillor Cookett mentioned, those are pretty active files. And rather than waiting at the end for the annual report, when they presented earlier this year, they shared with us some, announcements, for example, that were coming, some targets and that they were working on. So, and there are ways probably that we can contribute. So having regular updates and tracking of their objectives and how things are lining up, how we can work together, I think would be really, really beneficial.
Thank you for that. Anything further? Okay, Julie, please.
Be it resolved that the report titled City County Shared Services Enhanced Engagement Efforts dated April 6, 2023 from the Chief Administrative Officer be received and filed.
Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Sloan will move. Councillor Cookett will second. All in favor? That is carried. Moving on to section 7, correspondence, and 7.1.1. The resolution from the town of Elmer requesting Elgin County Council to establish a special reserve for any funds recovered through addressing historical issues with the payment in lieu payments.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Few comments. I guess this particular issue has been passed on to me As you know, Elmer County Council and Elmer staff have been dealing with this particular issue for almost a year now. And so it's become a fairly long-standing issue in Elmer. And you can see from the reports that are attached to this correspondence that there was a great deal of request, mainly for transparency. So I guess the resolution deals mainly with the issue about, I guess, transparency in terms of tax write-offs. I'm not sure whether that's the correct term to use, but that's the term that is used when we were dealing with it in council. I guess the town of Elmer would like a kind of mechanism for tracking the funds that were received by the county in order to correct the payments in lieu. The separate account, as far as I understand from the argument, was a separate account or fund or a line item in the budget would make for more accountable reporting. As the rationale goes for this request, if one or more LMPs, or I guess local municipal partners, I always think of London Motor Products when I see LMP, but the local municipal partners have one or more LMPs have benefited, I guess, by paying substantially less pills in the past. And I guess the argument that is presented by Elmer staff is that they shouldn't continue to benefit from these funds. So I guess a separate accounting is the main issue here. So basically, I think what we'd like to see is just the agreement that in future accounting that there is a separate line which tracks the monies that were received in this issue.
All right, thank you for those comments. I'm going to ask staff, how are these funds currently accounted for? I assume that finance can track what the pills are, but I would assume that they probably have just gone into general funds when received.
Through you, Mr. Warden, I think it's probably best that we get that information directly from the Director of Finance. And we'd be pleased to, with the direction of council, provide a follow-up report that addresses this correspondence and provides council with some options.
I think that's prudent. Would that satisfy you, Councillor Cook?
Yes, that's good. That's fine. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments and or questions on this correspondence? Okay, Julie, you got something crafted there?
Be it resolved that staff be directed to provide a follow-up report regarding payments in lieu and accounting practices.
All right. Councillor Sloan, you would second that? Or how about move that? And Councillor Cook will second that. All in favor of? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Items for information, the consent agenda. We have 4 items, including the Thames Valley District School Board report, the education development charges, resolution for municipality of Bayham in support of Bill 5, Stopping Harassment and Abuse by Local Leaders Act, the Western Ontario Wardens Caucus media release, the WOWC recognizes rural support in 2023 provincial budget and will continue to advocate for the region. And the Western Ontario Wardens Caucus media release, the WOWC supports Good Roads plan to build safer rural roads and address municipal liability. Does anyone wish to speak to any of these items? Deputy Warden Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Ward. I think the communications from your municipality, Bayham, I think that's worthwhile supporting. I fully endorse supporting that one.
Councillor Cook.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I have a question about another correspondence, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Thames Valley District School Board is talking about educational development charges. I'm not sure who to ask this question of, but how exactly does this work? Are they talking about development charges in the residential area around a potential new school, such as in Belmont, for example, as we're talking about a residential development charges there. Does anyone know?
Yes, Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Yeah, I just kind of scratched my head about this one too, because just recently in the news that the Belmont School was increased in capacity and there's extra funding came from the province. So I'm not sure why Thames Valley thinks they need development charge when the province is going to support it anyway. Because I understand the rules have changed with growth. They're supporting building schools that are looking ahead instead of backwards.
Would council be satisfied with perhaps with a staff report coming back on that one? To give a little more background and information for council before they proceed with any particular decision? Okay. So going back then to. Well, I think we can capture this all in one particular resolution. Is there, yes, Councillor Jiguer.
Mr. Warden, I just wanted to further endorse the resolution from BAM regarding Bill 5. And I would like to suggest that staff prepare a similar resolution to be passed by this council at our next meeting if possible.
That could be accommodated that way as well. Anything further on the correspondence? Councillor Noble.
Through you, Mr. Warden, just confirming, is Bill 5 an actual bill or is it just a proposed? I don't believe that that's actually passed and there's actually a law with legislation that goes with it.
Yep, thank you for that. My understanding is that Bill 5 is before the House. It has had first reading and expecting second reading sometime in May. And if you've been tracking some of the AMO correspondence that's been going through, I note that they have similar wording and from their lobby effort, probably at the federal level. And further?
Through you, Mr. Warden, if we're going to consider it, should we not wait till it's actually a bill and it's a law? Because right now with the Ministry of Labor, we have AODA and Bill 168 that pretty much cover that within the workplace.
Again, Councillor Noble, my understanding is that they're looking for support for this particular bill to run through the House. And I would almost suggest that this is in addition to current AODA standards and occupational health. Deputy Warden Jones first.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Yeah. This is right now, a council member pretty much just gets a slap on the wrist for harassment. Nothing really happens, 3 months pay at the most. This makes you accountable and everybody should be accountable. If your CAO, anybody in your township or municipality is accountable, except for council right now. And the council should be accountable the same way everybody else is. There should be ramifications other than just 3 months pay. That's really is a joke for a lot of people. And trust me, I've had to deal with it. So I know what I'm talking about.
Councillor Jiguer, you had something to add?
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I just wanted to clarify that currently existing laws do not cover municipal leaders. So there's a bit of a gap. So this Bill 5 wouldn't close that gap because it doesn't fall under the existing bill. So hence the need for this bill. And I think an endorsement from this council would, support the vote. So to ensure that it passes second reading and third reading.
I would agree with both of your comments on that. Just to add further that this isn't something that's empowering an integrity commissioner per se to act alone. This still has to go through a superior court in order to enact, and based on a recommendation from the council after a report. Hey, Julie, after all of that discussion, have you got something for a resolution here?
Through you, Mr. Warden, I actually proposed that we have two separate
Okay.
motions. The first to address the correspondence from Thames Valley District School Board, that staff be directed to provide a follow-up report regarding Thames Valley District School Board's proposed implementation of development charges for consideration at its April 25th, 2023 meeting.
Okay, do I have a mover and seconder for that? Deputy Warden Jones will move that and Counselor Hentz will second. All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. And then resolution number 2.
To address the correspondence from the municipality of Bayham, that staff be directed to provide a draft resolution regarding Bill 5, Stopping Harassment and Abuse by Local Leaders Act for council's consideration at its April 25th, 2023 meeting.
Okay, thank you for that. I know that Deputy Warden Jones was interested in moving that. Are you interested in seconding that, Counselor Shiger? That would be great. All in favor? Any opposed? Consider that carried.
And
Thank-
then one more,
You have one more?
just to receive and
Yes, please.
be it resolved that correspondence items 7.2.1 to 7.2.4 be received and filed.
Mover and seconder for that, please. Counselor Cook will move. Counselor Hentz will second. All in favor? That's carried. Okay. Section 8, other business. Statements and inquiries by members. Notice of motion. Matters of urgency. This one deals with our appointment to Southwestern Public Health. Is there a motion that deals with that?
Fairly straightforward, Mr. Warden. Be it resolved that Deputy Warden Jones be appointed to serve as county councillor representative on the Southwestern Public Health Board of Health.
Mover and seconder. Counselor Crockett will move. Counselor Latham will second. All in favor? That's carried, and congratulations, Counselor Deputy Warden Jones. And thank you. We have no closed meeting items. So we now need a motion to adopt recommendations from the Committee of the Whole.
Be it resolved that we do now adopt recommendations of the Committee of the Whole.
Mover and seconder, please. Counselor Widner. And Counselor Hentz. All in favor? That's carried. Section 12, consideration of the bylaws.
Be it a first, second, and third read of bylaw 23-16. Being a bylaw to amend the schedule to bylaw number 20-58. Being a bylaw to authorize speed limits.
Mover and seconder, please. Counselor Jiguer. Counselor Noble. All in favor? That's carried. Moving down to the confirming bylaw.
Be it a first, second, and third read of bylaw 23-17, being a bylaw to confirm proceedings of the municipal council of the corporation of the county of Elgin at the April 11th, 2023 meeting.
Mover and seconder, please. Counselor Latham, Deputy Warden Jones. All in favor? That is carried, which brings us to the adjournment motion.
Be it resolved that we do now adjourn at 9:52 a.m. to meet again on April 25th, 2023 at 9 o'clock a.m.
Okay, I think I saw Counselor Widner throw his hand up there pretty quick. Counselor Sloan will second it. All in favor? And that is carried. And thank you.